Jeff Jourard, the Hollywood Stars, is who we're here to talk about. And wow, there is so much history to go through with you, Jeff. There's so much story to tell, and we'll try and condense it down. Let's start off with the Hollywood Stars, formed in Los Angeles, 1973. So you're the new guy in the band, but, did you come into this band knowing the full history and the full story of what happened way back when?
No, not really. I arrived here at the end of 1972, and glam was in full swing. I came here for my own reasons. I'd gotten a phone invitation to join a project that looked promising, but I knew since it was Hollywood, it's probably going to turn out to be, BS. But I'd used up all the fun back in Gainesville, Florida, and thought, well, even if it blows up, it'll get me out of here, and I might find another opportunity. When I got here, very shortly after, I started seeing Hollywood Stars on some marquees around town. I was aware of them. I actually never went to a show. I was busy with my own thing. And I didn't know much about them because, not long after they were formed, it was over. There's a lot of, intrigue, changing of the guard at the record company and all this stuff, and their work got just buried. It was a victim of personnel changes and stuff. So I didn't know much of anything about them. And as I mentioned in an interview just recently, I was looking for videos about multi-effects units for the floor modelers with all the sounds built in, because I thought I'm using too many effects. If I could just get it in one box, that would be great. So I picked out one that looked promising, and I found a really good video of it. And the guy who was playing seemed to really know what he was doing. So I contacted him, and we went back and forth a few times. Next thing I know, we're like talking like idiots over gear and, getting into it. And that turned into, well, why don't you just come over? We should visit sometime. Turns out he lived like 5 blocks from here. So I go there, and we're playing, and we're having a grand old time. He says, I wonder if you'd like to see about this band that I just joined. It's fun. You might like it. So I said, game for anything. I'll check it out. So I went to one of the rehearsals. He'd already been with them a couple of months, I guess. And it looked okay to me. I kind of liked it. I saw that all I would really have to do in that band is dig in and play rock rhythm. I didn't have to do anything fancy, just that kind of stuff. And I thought, I haven't done that since 1972. Hallelujah. I know how to do this. So later I heard, you want to come back? I went, really? I didn't know. I couldn't get a read on how I went over. So I came back for another rehearsal. And at that one, they did photos. And I was in the photos. And by the end of the day, I went, I guess I'm in the band. That's how I found out about the Hollywood Stars.
Right. So was that George Keller? He was the other new guy.
George Keller. Sorry, I forgot to mention his name. Absolutely, George Keller. In fact.
Right. And then the other 3 were the original, well, two original.
That's him right there.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah. So we have Scott, Terry, and Michael. Scott and Terry are the original members of the band, and Michael came along, I think, 1975. So we pretty much have the original band and a couple of new guys.
Yeah, the core is there. You've got the lead singer and the rhythm section, that have worked together almost forever. Sure.
Yeah. So then you're coming in and learning about this incredible history. And just to fill the audience in, if we go back to those really early days, Bob Ezrin was involved with this band, who went on to produce Kiss and the Destroyer album, Alice Cooper and the Welcome to My Nightmare album. And this band also were the first ones to do Escape, which Alice covered on Welcome to My Nightmare, and King of the Nighttime World by Kiss.
Oh, that was huge, yeah.
Yeah, which Kiss then put on Destroyer. So these songs came through this band before we got to know them, in the million sellers that they were to become later.
That is true. Yeah, that's what happened. And when the band plays either of those songs live, it gets a big reaction. Not every they wouldn't know that it came from the Hollywood Stars, except that Scott makes a point of saying so. So everyone does know, but if they just heard the band without that announcement, they go, "Oh, interesting cover."
Yeah.
But it's not.
No, no. And those two songs came by Kim Fowley, who, again, is this legendary man on the street in Hollywood back in the 1970s, basically the creator of the Runaways. So, like, they were dropped right in the middle of the boiling pot at that point in time.
Hollywood Stars was a concept band. Kim Fowley just imagined some kind of West Coast answer to the New York Dolls. So he dreamed up Hollywood Stars, and he started hanging out in the rock clubs and spotting guys that looked like they would fit and recruited them. So it wasn't like a case of a couple musicians got together and went, let's start a band. They all answered an ad or got, collared by Kim in person. So, it was weird. It lasted, I don't know, maybe, I don't know the details that much because I wasn't there, but I think it lasted about a year, and then they broke up. And then about a year or a year and 18 months later, they decided to give it another go on their own without Kim. And so it's weird. It's a band that kind of doesn't really have a leader. There isn't like a big boss. Scott, being the singer, gets what he needs more often because, we can't do much unless he's happy. But it's not like he's the king at all.
We're talking like, this is ancient history. There's actually a new album, Starstruck.
Starstruck. I came with, visual materials.
We love the product placement there, Jeff.
Starstruck is the name of the recently completed album. George had joined and worked on that album before me, and then they hit a hiccup in the road. Two of the guys that were in the band and on the first half of the album decided to leave. George came in and did some recordings. I got drawn in, I got hired in, and then we finished the album. It was like 6 songs were done, and then 6 songs I played on. And I overdubbed a few things on finished tracks that were already there. So it was like a half and half album. And it is now done. It comes out June 15th. And that coincides with a gig we're doing at the legendary Viper Room.
With the new album, Starstruck, your past collides with your present with your old song, the Motels' Total Control.
Yes, it is. That was a complete surprise. I didn't bring that along to see if I could get a remake done of it. What happened is somewhere early, like the 5th, 6th rehearsal or something, Scott was thinking about it, like, you were in the Motels. I always liked Total Control. Do you mind if I take a shot at it? I go, like, I don't mind. I never thought in a million years you'd want to cover that because it's kind of really personal to Martha, and it's a very slow and it's very, kind of intimate thing. It didn't seem to fit. So we tried it a few times and it didn't fit. And he asked me, you think we could rock it up a little bit? I've been listening to Paul Westerberg's solo album, and on there he has a track I really like called Dirty Diesel. And it's just got this beat, and it's like, dun, 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 dun. And I thought, well, what if I could blend the two? What if I could, tough it up a little, speed it up a little, and give it that like train sound, And so we worked on that for about 2 rehearsals, and it seemed to really click. So it's on the CD.
You co-wrote that song. So what was your part in the co-writing of the song?
Some of it was political because I couldn't have all the songs that I did sort of half co-write. And I got challenged to pick 2 songs from the record that I could have half of. And so I picked the fastest song and the slowest song. Just, one of them's got a shot. Who knows, my money was on the fast one, in 1979, 1980, but against all odds, Total Control, took off. So what I did is I changed a few lines in the verses. It just very slightly changed the meaning. And the main thing I did is slow it down to like a funeral pace. It's funny how it goes full circle. When she wrote it, it was like about the pace of a Velvet Underground song, like a Lou Reed thing. Looking counterclockwise, it's like up mid-tempo. And I'd been listening to Bill Nelson's Panic in the World. And I was so taken with how relentless and hypnotic it was. I wanted to try to do that to Total Control. And I kept slowing it down and down and down and down till it was so slow. It was like you got to be kidding me, especially during the punk years, and the new wave jumping up and down years with the skinny ties and all. And it really stuck out, but it really clicked too, because at that pace, Martha was able to like be much more dramatic about it. And it really went over. So what I did is I arranged it to give it that effect. And I think a lot of why it's so memorable is because it's so slow. Can't say anything bad about Martha. I mean, it's nothing without her, but there are other songs that didn't do what that one did. And there's nothing else that slow either. So I think, my interpretation of that song is my major contribution.
And it was a huge hit in Australia, much bigger than it was in America.
To that point, hold on a second. I got this.
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's missing a state. You haven't got Tasmania underneath Australia there.
Yeah, well, this came from Australia.
Yeah, look, it's missing Tasmania underneath. You need to go back to your mind and get them to send you a Tasmania.
I guess they're only going to put one island on there.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, that's the only that's actually the only disc I got from that record.
Wow.
Thank you, Australia.
And it still gets played on radio today. More recently, we had one of the most amazing television series, a political drama called Total Control. And your song was re-recorded by one of Australia's greatest singer-songwriters of the last 20 years, Missy Higgins. Did you get to hear that song?
No, I didn't. I'd love to.
Oh, really? That's something to get onto. But, the drama, which is all about Australian politics, is quite fascinating. You'd probably love to watch that. It starred Rachel Griffiths, who's an Australian from Melbourne here, but also a very big star in Hollywood. She plays the Prime Minister, and, like having your song as the title of an Australian television series that was absolutely massive down here.
Oh, that's, if I'd really mean to, when I finally actually make it to Australia, and my wife has been several times, she says, I gotta, you must go. So we'll get there eventually. I have a feeling that if I just say who I am, someone will buy me a drink.
Yeah. What about the Tina Turner version? Did you ever hear Tina's version?
Yes. Same producer. It was John Carter, and he is the one that, asked her to take a shot at it. And I listened to it, and I thought it was like almost, but not quite there. And I think they agreed because that's the track they chose to give away to USA for Africa charity. Because I think they believed that they probably weren't missing out on any royalties by doing so. Yeah, it's a real honor to have her do it, but I kind of see why it was tucked into a deep track,
Yeah, and I think it eventually came out on a box set, like in more recent years, not long before she passed away as well. So it is out there for people to track down.
The song also was recently used here well, I guess it's worldwide, Hulu, the Hulu channel.
Yep.
There's a series called The Bear, and
Okay.
they featured it prominently in one of the episodes. And I got a beautiful big fat check for that one. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Ka-ching.
Yeah, finally, uh, all these years later, things are warming up for me.
Let's go back to your very early days, Gainesville, Florida, and you're an associate. You're very close with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Uh, were you actually officially ever a Heartbreaker?
As much as anyone was, yeah. Yeah, I'm actually the original design of the debut album had me amongst the people on the back cover. And when I was out, they had to redesign the cover to not have me on it. I was at all the sessions. I'm all over the record. Uh, the photo sessions. That's my jacket on the cover because I brought it with me to the photo session. And, yeah, I was in the band, but it was kind of a virtual band at the time. All we did is rehearse and record.
Yeah.
You know,
Why is Tom wearing your jacket on the cover?
there was a stylist, there was a makeup artist and a stylist, and they told us, bring a lot of clothes, bring different changes of clothes. We're going to get a lot of mileage out of this session. So I brought all kinds of stuff, including my motorcycle jacket and some fanciful things like, a t-shirt with a planet on it and, stuff like that. And there were pictures of me in the jacket. And at some point, after we did the group shots, we were doing individuals. And the stylist said, Tom, why don't we try you with the jacket? They wanted to go for, let's have a tough image. And so they put my jacket on him, and then they put this ammo belt that Stan had brought. The two of them together, they look like Che Guevara, maybe.
Oh, yep, yep.
Yeah. So that is just so not his style. I believe that the picture that made the cover, where he's going kind of like, like, are you kidding me? I think he felt somewhat ridiculous, and that's why he was smirking on the cover, and that's the one they went with.
Yeah. But you play on Breakdown, which
on Breakdown, on American Girl, Mystery Man, a bunch of tracks that ended up on box sets, like cover songs like Jaguar and the Thunderbird, and Scratch My Back, Louisiana Rain. Yeah. I did sessions with them for almost a year. Some of them were re-recorded, some were just added onto. I mean, I was in the band,
Yes.
what the band came into being was interesting because the previous band had broken up. That was Mudcrutch. And Denny Cordell wanted to hold on to Tom because he wrote the songs. And Cordell had a strong interest in copyrights, which would be an issue later. So he kept Tom under contract, and Tom didn't want any more band drama. So he was perfectly happy with the solo project idea. And Denny was setting him up with sessions that had A-list musicians from around LA, based almost the Wrecking Crew, the cream of the cream, Jim Gordon and people like that, just great players. And he wasn't exactly getting what he was looking for because they were real quick to pick up. They were real quick to try to understand what he was going for, and they were accurate, and they could repeat, over and over again and get great takes. But something was missing. And around the same time, previous keyboard player from Mudcrutch, Benmont, he was doing demo sessions, and he basically just called up everybody he knew, and that was all of us from Gainesville, including me. So we went to his session, and it was coming out really good. And Tom heard them, and he went, wow, you're getting what I'm not getting. So one by one, he stole us away and started substituting the session guys for us. And it got to a point where it was all Gainesville guys. We started phoning each other going, think we have a band here. And that sentiment got back to Tom, and he's going, no, I've had it with bands. It's just nothing but headaches. And I think a lot of that was because the previous band had a rival songwriter, and they were vying for control. So he didn't want a repeat of that. Well, Cordell, still interested in a solo career for Tom, told him that, you can still have your solo career. It's just people seem to like a star in a band that more than a star without a band. A star with just no, anonymous backers. They like a band. So that's why it became Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So all of us who've been doing the sessions continue to do so. And on it went.
Yeah. And the rest was history, as they say.
Yeah. History.
Yeah. What's the status of Hollywood Stars as a live act? Is there much of that coming up over the next 12 months?
Yeah. I think we're kind of laying low until the record is released, so that the fact that more people know about us will draw a better crowd, because a lot of the people who are fans have either aged out or moved away. It's been a long time. We've played a couple of gigs so far, and they were really packed. It really went over well, but these were small clubs. So we have our debut CD release party, not debut, CD release party at the Viper Room. And then there's a lot of talk of doing various things, but we're going to wait and see what kind of noise we get from the record, from the CD, and all the streaming and whatnot. So there's talk about going to Europe, England. Spain seems to be crazy about the 2 songs we've released so far. And I'd love to come down to Australia.
We've got a pretty good live music scene down here, so let's get down here at one point.
That's what I understand.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, good to talk to you, and great news that this band is back together, and hopefully there is a lot more to come.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Yeah. Well, that's great. It's really, really great meeting you, and I hope we get to talk again.
I hope so too. Good to have you here at Noise 11.
Yeah. Great to be here.